What is your biggest fear as a dungeon master? Scheduling sessions aside, we've all had that thought as people sit there on their phone. Actually hold that thought. Or when they suddenly go quiet on a Discord call. Are my players interested in my game? While many times this is just a worry, our attention tends to wander once we're sitting down for over 2 hours. Sometimes this is a genuine concern that your players may not be that engaged in your game. It especially sucks to think this after pouring in hours of your time to get a session ready. These maladaptive thoughts can even interfere with our own fun as DMs, making us not as present during the game. But don't worry, I have something to dispel that cognitive distorted curse of mind reading and to suggest your players to be more engaged in the game. Remember, it's not manipulation if it's magic. Hi, I go by Guy, and I'm gonna help you increase player buy-in to your campaigns. Now, how can psychology advice help you keep players coming back and interested? Well, just like professional psychologists and their clients, DMs need their players to buy in to the game. And when I say buy in, I'm talking about increasing their engagement with your setting. Now, clients are sometimes hesitant to engage in treatment. They may not really have a solid understanding of why they're there, but they trust a professional to show them. Just like how players may not really know about the world they're playing in or what their place is in it, but they trust you to take them along for the ride and show them. And one of the big things psychologists do is to try to push the client's involvement in what their treatment can look like. They don't decide everything for them. DMs can also introduce what can happen in a campaign, but ultimately lets the player decide what they want to bring into it.
The decision is yours.
Both provide context to what can happen in a session. Both can bring in resources and ideas. But at the end of the day, the client or player ultimately decides what to do.
Now we can do this the easy way or we can do it the hard way.
In therapy, we wouldn't just go, here's your cure to anxiety. I've conceptualized your 28 years of living and planned our future together based on the hour we've talked. You're getting old. That doesn't feel too good, does it? That's why it's important to have a collaborative approach to a session or campaign and allow participants to have agency, unless it's something actually dumb.
Art thou feeling it now, Mr. Krabs?
As said by Dingle et al., grow up. Engagement as participation or involvement is all about creating equality and making clients feel as powerful as therapists. And as DMs, we can do this to make players feel more involved in the world. Now, how do we do that? Yes, it's easier said than done, but I also have a tool for that as well. When it comes to player buy-in, yes, you can input a lot of information from their backstory into the world, but this still leaves a one-dimensional way of including player agency. And also, you need players to write a backstory in the first place. It doesn't really do much about getting players to collaborate with each other in the storytelling. And oh my God, it's so much work sometimes. There were times when I'm in my program, both writing up a proposal that has to be due in about 2 days, but then I have a session that's due the next day, so I'm up at 4 a.m. trying to include something from someone's backstory into something of plot relevance right now, and it's just a big amalgamation of work and time that's all on me because we just didn't have set up. What I meant to say is that it's easier for us to do the work if it's together. This is Beyond the Wall, a fairly simple, low prep, more narrative system that is based on old school Renaissance games, like the OG Dungeons and Dragons. In this game though, the players make up a gang of childhood friends that grew up in the same village close to a forest where dangerous fey creatures lurk about. While young and untested, you all are ready to protect your town from the dark forces that may threaten it, no matter the cost. I won't go too in-depth into the system in this video, but if you're interested, give the subscribe button a chill touch and let me know in the comments. I'll see what I can do. Now, what makes Beyond the Wall so special to me is the building the village rule. In Beyond the Wall, characters use playbooks to create their characters and construct their backstories. But these playbooks also involve working with the DM to create specific player-created locations and NPCs that influenced their background. It is a collaborative process in which the players and game master take turns adding locations to the village on a map. For example, Jillian just rolled a result telling her that her new village hero character excelled at various games while she was growing up. Jillian may decide to add a practice field for the levee on the outskirts of the village where her character frequently won sporting events, which would certainly fit with her roles. However, she could just as well decide instead to add Grandfather Oak, an ancient and rune-carved tree under which her character often sits by herself or gathers with her friends to tell stories. Doesn't that sound fun? It involves so much storytelling, so many plot hooks, and it even gets other players involved with that location, wondering if there's any relevance to their backstory. I still remember my first character from Beyond the Wall. His name was Lysimachus Foresight. He was this small little guy, but had crazy hands, like could destroy a tree in a punch. But I was rolling on a table and he was a village hero. And on the table he slew a bear. And we had it that he slew a bear with his bare hands. And then he took the bear's hands as a trophy and actually wore them on his hands to punch stuff better. He wasn't that smart. The GM took this and wound it into a story about the bear's spirit entrusting the protection of the surrounding forest to him, and added a little bit of aggression from another player's NPC who acted as a guardian or witch of the woods that was around the village. Honestly, I was so excited to just be engaged in the game and to really see what these various locations and NPCs that I put inside the game and how they'd be interacted with by the other players that I was playing with. But maybe you're like, well, my campaign takes place in more than just a small village. It's possibly even continent spanning. Well, Flatland Games has you covered in their expansion called Further Afield. This expansion takes the idea of the village and applies it to more of a traditional campaign setting, like in D&D, or Pathfinder, or literally any other TTRPG. I like to use Further Afield as a backstory expansion pack, allowing players to create major locations tied to their backstories, like ancient ruins, otherworldly realms, or a goblin college. Each one adds flavor, plot hooks, and relevance to the players because they can visit them in the game. And not only are you increasing your players' engagement, you've even taken some of the weight of creating the world off your shoulders. Give yourself a pat on the back. And boom, you just created engaging locations for characters to look forward to. Now, I understand that some players just aren't interested in this kind of storytelling. At the end of the day, everyone gets out what they put in. If they want to just roll up a character and go, that's their prerogative. They just better not complain about being the most NPC PC with their non-existent backstory. But for players that love world building, that want to immerse themselves into the story, I find this is a great tool to keep them coming back. Just like how psychologists work best when clients shape their goals, games thrive when players shape the story. By sharing the pen, you're inviting them to co-create a world they care about, and a world that feels just as much theirs as it is yours. All right, and that's the video. I love using this method so much. I once ran a campaign based off the web serial A Practical Guide to Evil, which is now a webtoon, by the way. Pretty hype. And pretty much what I did was that I had the players do the Further Afield portion to add on to the map of the world, and they got so involved that they actually started doodling on the map what it'll look like, or adding little pins and tokens to be like, oh, this is the font of magic where a giant meteorite fell, and started just continuously adding on and on and on, a little bit too much onto the map. But how do you get players involved? Do you have an idea for another video? Drop your thoughts in the comments, I'd love to hear them. Also, if you enjoyed this video, hit the subscribe button for some inspiration in your next game. But once again, I go by Guy, and thank you for watching.